All right, Keith, let's start with Everton. There is some news that Moshiri has reportedly agreed to convert his £451 million pounds in loans into shares if the club isn't sold by the January 11 deadline. Is this positive news for the takeover?
Yes, it is positive news. It's positive news for Everton in general. However, there may still be some PSR questions once he actually did do those shares. But the whole thing is it's January the 11th. And I really believe, and all I'm hearing is that the Friedkin deal will be done by then. So I think it's more a precaution than anything else. But as we know, things can slip and things can be delayed. So I still think it's positive news, certainly, that that shouldn't stop any transaction going through.
And if the Everton takeover gets done by January 11 versus December 25th versus January 25th, like how much is that going to change potentially the amount of funds available in January for Sean Dyche and Everton?
Well, obviously, yes. I mean, the longer it goes on, your targets disappear, and I think the sooner the better for everybody, I think, involved in the whole situation. For the staff, for the management team, for the players, for everybody, we want to get it done as soon as possible. But obviously, I've been hearing very strong rumours that within the next 2 weeks it will be happening. And that would still allow some time before the transfer window, but I'm sure the work is being done right now on what they want to do and hit the ground running.
And how quickly does the pressure flip onto Sean Dyche if this takeover gets done in the next 2 weeks? Because if it gets done in the next 2 weeks and then 2 weeks of bad form for Everton, could you potentially see some sort of managerial change happening in January as well as potentially bringing in some new players?
Look, we've had a run of bad form already. He's had a very bad start to the season, if we're going to be honest. I really thought Sean would be the right one to keep us up for the third year in a row. If you look at last season and you forget the points deduction, if you add the points we'd actually taken, we were the most improved Premier League team in the division. So that was testament to the work he was doing. I think a lot hinges on the game tomorrow night against Wolves. If that's another beating, then at home, then I think it'll be almost definite that that's going to happen.
And who are some managers that you could see Dan Friedkin targeting should Sean Dyche be sacked? Eden Terzic has been linked. Sergio Conceição has been linked, as well as obviously Graham Potter, whose name's been thrown around with every managerial job.
Yeah, and you're missing David Moyes off the list as well, who's been linked as well. Look, the priority for any new owner would be to keep the league in the Premier, keep the club in the Premier League. Obviously, that's the priority. We need to go into that new stadium in the Premier League. It would be a disaster if we weren't. And I know from my own experience how hard the Championship is to get out of. Everybody says it, but it's very true. I've lived it and I've got the scars. In terms of the manager, that's what you've got to look at, as to who's going to be the one. Now, I think you're going to need Premier League experience, certainly. Graham Potter, I mean, I've been looking at sort of what relegation battles he's been in. I think he's really only been in one that I can find to my knowledge. David Moyes obviously knows the club inside out. So it's going to be somebody with Premier League experience, in my opinion, because this next 6 months is a big, big gamble. So anything you can do with Premier League experience is going to be crucial.
And if they were to bring someone like David Moyes in, you would imagine that would be maybe a short-term, 6 months, give him a small transfer kitty in January to get a player or two in to keep them up, and then maybe go for a bigger name in the summer, like a Sergio Conceição or an Eden Terzic?
No, I think David wouldn't come unless it was an 18-month contract, and probably quite rightly. I don't think he's a sort of as the old Sam Allardyce used to be, sort of jet him in and do a job. I think David would be looking to take the club on from there, and I think he's perfectly capable of doing it. But we have to consider all the options available. And but as I say, those key points of keeping us up and staying in this league mean there's a lot of pressure on that manager from day one. With little time now to plan for the window and to get the squad acclimatised with a new manager, it's going to be very tight in the next few weeks.